Hi class, this is KLozano, and my presentation is going to be on global humanitarian photography with joyful images. I'm really excited about this project because my photography has always existed around ministry ever since the beginning. About a year ago, God put a dream in my heart about combining my love of photography and ministry with my love of travel. This project has allowed me to see how I could possibly make that dream a reality. When most people think about photography, they associate it with a luxury. You think about wedding photography or portraits with your family, but there's a whole genre of photography that exists to bring awareness to NGOs and humanitarian causes. And until I started this project, I actually didn't realize how many people are involved in this type of photography. So with Joyful Images Global, what we'll do is elevate photography from a luxury by raising awareness to underserved populations and also teaching NGOs and nonprofits how to tell their story more effectively through visual storytelling, which includes utilizing photography and video. So what is humanitarian photography? Well, we all know what photography is, and we understand that humanitarian efforts help those in need. So humanitarian photography is just combining those two to improve the welfare and concerns of people in need through visual means. Photography really has an amazing way of capturing people's hearts and minds. All you need to do is look at a copy of National Geographic to know that this is true. And photography has really moved people to action for as long as it's existed. The Globalization Project, Joyful Image, is going to raise awareness of poverty, bring value to individuals by sharing their stories, and support existing NGOs in their humanitarian efforts. Our selected country is India and the city of Ahmedabad in the state of Gujarat. Well, India is expanding and has a great advantage in a lot of business industries like oil and IT. There's still a large amount of poverty and human trafficking and human needs in India. And it sounds really odd, but the advantages for a humanitarian aid or service organization is really where there's greatest need. And because of that, it's sort of counterintuitive to what we would think about business advantage. We see that the greatest risks associated with humanitarian photography in India are related to corruption, photographer safety, and issues with infringement of intellectual property. India's legal system really doesn't have adequate protection for intellectual property. It's like copyright, trademark, and that's going to be really important in a company involved in photography. In photography, it's extremely important to connect with subjects, and one important aspect of expanding globally is going to be to understand the Indian culture and the population that we serve, and that includes the social, cultural, and religious considerations. In India, there's a really large Dalit population, and these are people that were formerly known as the untouchables. In my experience and my research, this population is going to be a primary target population because they've got a high poverty rate. Um, and although India is largely Hindu, they are open to Christians as long as they're not actively trying to convert or proselytize. Um, so it's a pretty good situation for us. All right, so let's look at what we're going to do. We are going to support existing NGOs by providing photographic support. What that looks like is that NGOs have marketing needs to share their stories with constituents back home to raise support for their causes. We'll also partner with other humanitarian photographic entities like Help Portraits in the US. What they do is amazing photography events where photographers donate their resources and their time to photograph those who can't afford it, like women in domestic violence shelters, etc. So, and then another example is ripple effect images. They find women around the world who are already successful in their micro enterprises, and then they photograph them for free, of course, and that's to help them raise awareness of their products, and really helps these women by bringing them to the forefront, and helps them out of their poverty. And lastly, we're going to train the NGOs how to take their own photos so that they can have a sustainable way of being their own photojournalists. We plan to capitalize on the International Women's Day in March of every year to develop partnerships here in the U.S. and abroad. And as we mentioned, we'll also partner with Health Portraits in the U.S. By hosting events, we can not only serve populations here in the States, but with corporate sponsorship, we can raise funds and awareness for global efforts. We can also plan to help develop health portrait type events in India, where we set up cameras and photograph folks on the street. We'll have mechanisms for delivering the photos to those people, and some of these people may have never had their portrait taken, and it's amazing to see how they react when they see a photo of themselves. Finally, as we said, we'll partner with Ripple Effect Images. Here's just one example of how working with an NGO can help. In the fight against human trafficking, we can work with a local NGO and record and share their stories of the individuals who are caught up in slavery. And this will inspire individuals to get involved. And the photos can be used to encourage businesses to eradicate slavery from their supply chains. And also the NGO can work with Indian government to produce effective anti-slavery laws. So when people see the photos, it's reality. There's really no denying that what's happening when it's right in front of them. Let's look at the proposed global entry strategy. We selected an international strategy. We anticipate taking humanitarian photography efforts that currently exist in the U.S. and moving it into the Indian market with minimal local customization. And this approach works because there's low cost pressures and low pressures for local responsiveness. In terms of competitiveness, we'll measure how effective we are by the extent to which we can support NGOs' needs, partner with other entities, and in training nationals in India in their own photojournalism. We believe that Joyful Images will be successful because of its history and passion for ministry and serving others. And CSR is really gaining popularity with millennials in business, so we believe that there will be many companies who will want to utilize our services as a way to give back. India has extreme need when it comes to humanitarian need, whether it's poverty or human trafficking. India's people are beautiful, they're warm, they're hospitable, and they're open to humanitarian aid. Finally, because it's such a visually stunning place, it's easy to fall in love with it and the people. Thank you so much for watching my presentation. Hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to your feedback.